administrative and operational collapse. The vendor booths at the Queen's Park Savannah, Port of Spain are now ready. Carnival Entrepreneurs Association President David Batiste confirmed their completion with only minor finishing touches remaining. Vendors will have full access to their booths by February 20th, ensuring they are prepared for the carnival season. 5 suspects have been arrested in state of emergency operations by Central Division Police. Officers seized drugs, ammunition, and counterfeit U.S. currency. One suspect was wanted for multiple offenses and had provided a false identity. In a separate operation, police arrested a suspect linked to the theft of $64,000 from a parked vehicle in Chaguanas. Authorities also detained 2 individuals for drug possession. Investigations are ongoing. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Attention everyone! The Office of the Prime Minister Communications has launched a brand new WhatsApp channel designed to keep you informed and connected like never before. Get real-time updates, breaking news, and important information directly from the source. With our WhatsApp channel, you'll always know what's happening when it's happening. Joining is easy. Use your phone camera, scan this QR code, tap follow, and that's it. You're in. Be sure to tap the notification bell to never miss an update. Stay informed, stay empowered. Join the conversation with the Office of the Prime Minister Communications WhatsApp channel today.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man is being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe in different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, or the man has been the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
WESN.
Well, hello everybody, welcome as usual. This is 10 Questions here on WESN. Good to see you, I'm Andy Johnson. Let's just tell you what's happening. The Home Care and Residential Living Association of Trinidad and Tobago is a duly registered NGO and an NPO, that's a non-profit organization. Our membership is made up of homeowners of a variety of care homes, home managers, and concerned citizens. We are concerned about the quality of care offered at our social care institutions, private homes, and even residential facilities. This means we are definitely concerned about the services that produce the quality of life our seniors and children receive at facilities in Trinidad and Tobago. We believe that the resident, their sponsors and families, the employees, and even the community should feel proud of the home care facility that is part of their space. We also believe that the sponsors and family members should feel very comfortable to place and leave their loved ones at our facilities, knowing and expecting their stay and experiences to be similar or even better than being at home during this stage of their lives. That's part of a statement issued by the organization, the Home Care and Residential Living Association of Trinidad and Tobago. What's the status of that kind of service in the country? How deeply is it or not in our culture in Trinidad and Tobago, and what these people are doing about it? Well, to talk with us a bit about it on this edition of the program, Mr. Nigel Walcott, he's the president, and Ms. Joycelyn Francois is the PRO. They both have homes as their own business, but in the discussion, Mr. Walcott will talk about why there was a drill down in it to bring it more in tune with what our needs are as a society developing Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to both of you. Good to see you here at WESN. So, Mr. Walcott, could you open the discussion about? Let's talk about that. The facility is part of the people's space. We also believe that sponsors and family members should feel very comfortable to place and leave their loved ones at our facilities, knowing and expecting that their stay and experiences to be similar or even better than being at home. That's not the case. It was, at least it wasn't the case when you all, even on your own, started to provide these kind of services in these facilities. Let's talk a little bit about that.
All right. Well, good morning to you, Mr. Johnson, and my lovely co-host here, Ms. Francois, and to your whole listeners, right? We actually know for a fact there are approximately 300 and so care facilities in Trinidad and Tobago.
How many is that?
Yeah, so that being said, while everybody strives to give the best care that they could, a lot of our standards are way below where it ought to be. Mind you, on the backdrop of that, there are some homes that give excellent care, right? But in the most part, we have to come up to standards. So the association was formed to get the membership, or persons who would join the association, which are homeowners in the most part, and other stakeholders, to bring their facilities up to standards, help them to get that level of service that they can offer to the public, right? It was also formed to assist these homeowners to understand basically what are the required levels of care, because there's a history to it. Right? In Trinidad and Tobago, home care a few years back, was somebody who ended up in a facility, and not even a facility, somebody who had a good heart and decided to take care of one person. Then somebody would drop a next person. Then there would be 3 and 4 persons, and before you know it, you had a care facility running. What was lacking was management, training, and understanding of how care should be at a care facility. So people are doing things in the most part out of the goodness of their heart, but not really giving the levels of service and care that is required for the resident.
Yeah, doing the best they could, and sometimes without proper understanding of what's required. And so, can I ask you, to what extent there was the welcoming of this move to bring as many people interested as possible to forming an organization rather than running their own show, their own shop, as it were?
All right. Well, we have had some pushback in terms of individual persons who are a bit apprehensive about forming and joining an organization. However, our membership stands, that is registered membership, at about 45 homes, and our general charter and affiliation membership is 115 homes. Right? So basically, people are coming around, and not so much only because it's a good thing. Government is now moving to regulate and streamline the levels of care that ought to be offered at the facilities. And
I thought you were going to say regularize. That too?
Well, regularize to some extent.
Yeah, Ms. Francis, let's bring you into the discussion. I want to ask you what led you to set up that business on your own, and then what extent it was or was not a challenge to become part of the organization?
So setting up on my own, it wasn't by choice. I didn't sit and plan it and, this is what I want to do. It happened, I would say, accidentally. I had always wanted to do something for the elderly because of my dad, who passed away a long time ago. And so when the opportunity came, I saw the place and it just fell into my mind that this is what I need to do. So I'm a professional, I'm a chartered accountant, and so I was not looking in that direction at all. But when I got the vision, I guess it was, I stepped forward and I just put, everything just fell into place. Then one interesting thing was my mom got a stroke, and the facility, hospital facility, said she would not make it for 24 hours. She would be gone in 24 hours. With the care that we gave mom, she lasted 24 months.
Yeah, that's
right, that's 2 years after they pronounced that on her. So all of those things just contributed to my recognizing the need for a level of care, treating them as if they were my parents. And that was the main motivation behind my getting this business off the ground. I left the boardroom, I like to say, left the corporate boardroom to come and do, and hands-on. In terms of the association, what I would say is there is strength in numbers. Running a care home is challenging, extremely challenging, both from the aspect of the regulatory framework, the regulations, and so making sure that there's compliance. It's very challenging and very costly. And therefore, if we are all having some of those same issues, we are sharing issues, issues of managing staff, issues of managing the finances, issues of dealing or relating with the relatives of the resident, why not come together? Come together and do the advocacy or the lobbying that is required in order, you know, that we will have the facilities and, you know, the level of care that they deserve.
Yeah, I'm wondering to what extent you may bring you may have brought your chartered accountant skills and experiences.
Right, so that's what I said, that's why I said this was all, I guess, orchestrated. It was part of the master's plan, I like to say, because every single thing that I have done in my corporate experience is now being called upon in this scenario. So yes, to a large extent, and I think one of the challenges that we are having, persons who, okay, so persons would assume that I'm a registered nurse. I am not. So when I got started, what I had to do was to acquire those services. I didn't try to do it on my own. You know, from that point of view, I recognize there's the clinical, there's the administration, if you are to run a proper home. And therefore, I stuck to what I knew, the administration of it, the financial aspect of it, the marketing of it. That's what I knew. And therefore, I had to acquire the services of registered nurses. Yes.
So when we spoke, one of the times we spoke in the couple of conversations we had leading up to this day, you talked about island living and destination marketing. And these things can come out of this because you believe that you know, these are areas to be focused on in an organization such as this, in a climate and a culture such as this. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, Island Living is a private company, basically.
And that's your company.
That's my company. Right. But it's a service provider.
Right.
And in our business, you need for many different types of stakeholders and service providers. You have the need for people for food, equipment, resources, human resources. As Jocelyn mentioned, even your staffing is a critical thing because your staff should match the level of clients that you have. You know? So it has a lot of scope, right? And in Trinidad and Tobago, we are now moving the needle a little bit forward to improve the standards. And so a lot of people are getting into this industry, I want to call it that, right? But we need at this point to have it properly structured and regulated so that it's not a helter-skelter. It's a good business. And I think most of the homeowners who have ventured, it's rewarding in a number of ways. Right? But it's not an easy reward to acquire.
It's not.
You need the support. You need support systems in place. You need to know where you can get your resources when you need it. And in some cases, you need it immediately.
Wow. So to what extent you had to sort of wrestle with some people who are homeowners to get them to understand that they, you know, strength in numbers and strength in organization and that kind of thing as you began to build it.
That wrestling match still going on.
It's still going on. One of the things that I would say is that because Trinidad and Tobago, like the world, is we have an aging population. I always say to people, there is enough business for all of us, as long as we are prepared to do it, you know, with dignity, in the standards that Mr. Walcott is talking about. There is enough business for everybody. So there's no need to have the crab in the barrel kind of, you know, fights that are going on. But I think people, it's taking them some time to recognize that. Let's come together, we discuss the challenges, and we do the advocacy required in order to get, you know, some of the institutions to recognize that we are different. There are unique things about us.
Correct.
We work shift, right? The shift times, you know, we have a lot of single mothers.
Sure.
Yes, single mothers who are, you know, they have the children, but they have to come to work and how they don't have this. So there are lots of things that we can help to put in place to ensure that that main part, caring for residents and elderly persons, that, you know, that goes as smoothly as possible.
You think, well, there's some advocacy work and some understanding work that still has to be done with people who ought to be part of the organization. The people, I would say, who are still holding on to the feeling that...
And as an individual, go it alone.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, there's a lot of work to be done for persons. As I said, the number of homes that we have in the country as compared to what's in our organization, it's less than a third. But people are going it alone, so to speak, and they're meeting many pitfalls. One of the values of the organization is to help you avoid some of those pitfalls. Some of them are legal, some of them are financial to the point that they can put you out of business. Yep. You know?
Yeah.
And then some of them are even worse. Some of them has to do with the level of care that you offer. And because you're not qualified or able to offer the right type of care, we end up with a sort of abuse situation. You end up in the news, and we give the whole industry a bad name.
The industry about
things like that have happened.
Yeah, those things are things that happened, and that's the only time you hear about us. You don't hear about us for the good things. You know, one of the things as we're speaking on this line, some homes like Jocelyn and they're putting out little Facebooks and websites and other things so that people can literally go and see what level of care that's happening and appreciate, right? Because we have good caregivers, good homes in Trinidad and Tobago, right? But people need to appreciate that. That opens up a market for persons wanting to come back home and settle down, yes. You know?
Yes. Yeah. Especially now, a lot, we find that a lot of the calls and you know, inquiries we're getting are from persons who have been living abroad for all the years. They're now at that stage where one person was actually telling me that whatever the price that is charged here, the proper care in, say, the US and the UK, it's the same price in their dollars. So if you do the conversion, you realize it really, there is a huge market for that kind of care, good care in Trinidad.
Good care, and I have a note. I see a note here from our discussion. You talk about the sort of development of what you call personal care packages. Talk a little bit about that, you know, so that in every case, in every well, I don't want to call them client, but
well, clients, residents. Once they come into your facility, an assessment has to be done as to what it is their needs are. Some people are not even aware of all the needs that they have. But when a doctor sees you, he will determine based on your discharge summary and other things, medical records, what is really required. The home is now required to follow that care plan, right? But what the home does now is more than just follow the care plan. They put together a package for you that would include things like therapy, reaching to your destination, back and forth clinic visits, and the range is full. Remember, this person is coming to live at that facility. It's not a visit like when you go to the hospital and they send you back home.
Yeah.
Your whole life is now wrapped up here, right? Your family life is wrapped up there. Some family members are excellent, but some family members are brutish. They'll drop you there, and you wouldn't see them again.
Yes, that's a reality.
You understand? But that now becomes the whole domain of the homeowner to make sure that you live a life that is, you know, and we are dedicated to trying to get those things in place so that we can actually both put it out there that we have those type of facilities.
It's a sort of holistic approach that you have to take. This is a person who, you know, would have contributed in whatever field that they have, you know, over their years, and you are now responsible for charting out, helping them to chart a course and a plan.
The next step in life. Remember we spoke about even having at the facility a quality of life that might be even better than the one that you were expecting at home.
Yeah.
Right. So you may be at home with family members for all it is, but because of the pace of life, they can't give you the time and commitment that you require.
And
so
in some cases they're not sure as to what to do to address
your issues, right? So you end up inadvertently being abused or neglected, as a term, right? Inadvertently, but you're there. But if you're placed in a facility where you have the most pressing need for most seniors is companionship. You have somebody you can talk to. You reserve and you preserve that person for a much longer time. You better get a better quality of life, less sickness, less disease. So
there are many instances, as you're saying that. In one case, someone came to our home and her daughter admitted to me that, you know, she didn't expect her to last for more than 3 weeks. She's now with us 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so what he spoke about, the companionship, is critical. We actually had 2 situations, one where the 2 90-something-year-olds, they realized that they grew up in Belmont together.
And didn't know each
other. And they didn't know each other. And well, in talking, they realized, wait a minute, you were, and there's all sorts of giggling going on. They're roommates, right? And we actually had another case of, you know, again, a couple, 2 persons who were both married to pastors, and they ended up being how many years ago? They ended up being roommates, you know? And so that sort of socialization, and that is critical for them, because when you, from all my readings and so, loneliness is one of the critical challenges that an elderly person has. Mr. Walcott spoke about the pace of life. It's not in many instances, it's not that the children don't like to, they don't want to, etc. They are now creating, and we know what the pace of life is. So they are busy, they have to go to work, they have the children to see about. They really don't have the time, you know, to spend with, you know, granny playing games and all of that. And that is one of the recreational things. That is one of the things that, you know, we have to put in there.
Yeah, you know, I'm tempted to raise an issue about a lady who's close to me. I wouldn't say more than that, but she is someone who doesn't feel that, well, you know, her mother has died some years ago. Didn't feel that there was anybody who can take care of her mother as she could. And you couldn't convince her that this, you know. And there are still people like that.
And there are people like that. I know of one, she's running herself into the ground because of the responsibilities, you know, but she will not put her mom in there. And we have to understand it. It's emotional. This is mommy, this is whatever. And the stories that you spoke about of abuse that takes place in some of the homes, you know.
Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it's unintentional.
Yeah,
and I say intentional because in taking care of a senior person, without the capacity and the equipment and the know-how, you can become very frustrated.
Extremely frustrated.
Yeah, and then some people,
and you lash out.
Yeah, some people, you know, are difficult to begin with in the best of circumstances. And if you don't have the skills as to deal with it.
One of the things that we have found as well is the incidence of Alzheimer's, dementia.
There you go.
Yeah. I can say maybe 90% of the persons who are with us are dealing with either early stage, middle stage, and, you know, and that is very frustrating to deal with. So if you don't have the know-how, like Mr. Walcott says, it could be very frustrating.
I just wanted to touch a little bit on the fact that you, Mr. Walcott, you said that you got into this after having been a public servant. You worked in the Ministry in the Division of Aging, in the Ministry of Social Development. And to what extent that is a what do you call it, a bridge to
Well, that was the bridge.
Yeah.
Because,
Relationships that we
yeah,
have
I worked with Dr. Rouse, the Division of Aging, when she was the director there for some years. And I got very entwined in what I do, passion of it. And even when my contract was up and the time was up, I couldn't get out of it. Apart from that, during the time that I was there, I built a lot of relationship with homeowners and what have you, so that outside of the whole thing, people would be calling, you know, calling for this, calling for that, needing to know this. So it was a kind of natural transition to just stay in the industry, but it's actually what I do. I enjoy it, and I dare say most of the homeowners that I know really, outside of the grind and the whatever, they enjoy what they do.
So the government sees this, you know, as sort of an avenue to further development in our treatment of senior citizens, rather than, in a lot of cases, feeling that you know, the state has to carry these burdens. As you say, we more and more becoming an aging society.
I'm not sure.
To what extent the collaboration, if you want to call it that, with the appropriate ministry to address some of the live challenges.
The collaboration with the authorities and so forth is not where it should be, right? We have had a couple GSCs and what have you on aging and home age and so forth. For example, we are under the Private Hospitals Act at this point in time. Ministry of Health, right? But we have home care facilities. And really, we should be under the Homes for Older Persons Act, which would be a better fit, right? But we are where we are, and we have to make things work as best as we could, right? A lot of persons disregard, or when you look at senior persons and what's concerning them, you basically dismiss it. You say they live their life and you know, you move on. So that level of concern is not what it ought to be from the administration and authorities' position as compared to on our side, basically, right? So we have a problem with that.
The Act has not yet been.
And the Act has not been proclaimed, right? So it's assented to by the President.
What this Act is again? What is
the Homes for Older Persons Act and the regulations to go with it, right? So once we get these things rolling, it would help us to better regulate. Right now, we have a number of internal issues that we are fighting with in terms of Ministry of Labor, OSHA, all these different agencies, as far as the government is concerned, that we need to streamline what we do and how we do, and also understand what is happening so that we can get, you know, a better collaboration between ourselves and these agencies. Sometimes they don't understand what's happening when they come to our facilities, and sometimes we don't understand the requirements that they have in place because it doesn't fit.
It's kind of mismatch, eh? Some of it, we understand the need for the, you know, safety and all of those issues, but for some of it is a bit onerous, you know. So what, as an association, what Nigel has been the main driver behind this, trying to get us, even though you know, it's not in laws yet, trying to get us to use that as a guide. This is how we should be, so that when the proclamation takes place, or is it the assent? This ascension from the president, when that happens, because it has been proclaimed but not assented to. So once that happens, we don't want to be caught, you know, kind of now trying to put things in place. So I think that has been one of the main drive that Mr. Wolcott has been trying to get the homeowners, you know, in gear, so that if tomorrow we hear, you know, it has been assented, then we are not going to be, you know, like chicken without head. Yes.
But I must say that the Ministry of Health over the last couple of years have really been trying, putting out a grand effort to make sure that homes, as much as possible, be, even if they're not licensed, at least make sure they're visited, and they give them guidelines as to what, you know, they can improve the service somewhat, right? That too has to be streamlined, but it is there.
What prevents some people who run these facilities from getting on board, or even buying into, accepting what I want to say the rules and regulations ought to be, and still wanting to do their own thing?
Sometimes it's finances. You just don't have the money because of the amount of things that are required. Sometimes it's on the major part, most of the homeowners are not owners of the facility that they're renting. And therefore, you cannot adjust the facility, make the changes as you see fit. You have to consult the landlord. He or she may not want you to do different adjustments on their facilities. So even though you have the facility there and things are going on, you're running afoul of the law one way, but you can't make the change. So you have to either now upend and find someplace else or try to balance off that act. So that's a strong challenge that people have.
And is it a challenge for the organization to take on board a membership where that sort of is the kind of reality that they can't do what is required to be done to have a home that meets the standard and meets the objections.
And that's where I think the collaboration with these organizations, the institutions, I think that is important so that they can see some of the things that they're going by. Let's say this is the regulation for, but they don't understand some of the realities. So that relationship and having the discussion and letting them see and understand, that I think is something that we have been doing to try to get them to understand the business, right? I think one of the points that I'd like to make as well is people see this as a lucrative business. You just get a few elderly people and you put it in. And I think that is a barrier as well, because they don't realize the extent of the work that is required and therefore getting financing. You can't start a business if you don't have the financing. You're expecting the money that comes in, but even, the realistic cost of providing this service, I don't think any of us, unless you have real deep pockets, it's very, very, very challenging. Yeah. So it's the profitability of it. If you're going into the business with that in mind, you might be disappointed. Yeah, you might be disappointed. The love and passion for the elderly, that's where the rubber hits the road. That is where the fulfillment that you talk about and the reward, it really is seeing happy resident and their relatives, and that is the cusp of it, for me at least, and I think for many of the persons as well, because you would hear all the homeowners who are in the association talk about the passion that they have for the elderly. That is a critical ingredient for success in this business.
Yeah, as we talk, my mind goes back to when I came to live in Port of Spain. There was this place sort of up on the top of Charlotte Street, the Lost Space. What has happened with that?
They have basically, at some point in time, it was a sort of down institution, but I think they did some good renovation work and so forth there, and they improved the place considerably. Right? So the last I heard of it was a couple of years ago. They were doing all right. I don't know what's happening with them today.
All right, we're going to be out of time. I just want to get a comment from both of you. Short comment on where you see what the situation is now. What are you looking for, say, a year from now, 2 years from now, with the organization per se?
All right. Well, I think that we need to appreciate our elders, really give them the kind of care and support they deserve, because they have a lot to give, even though they are at this point in life. All right? Secondly, 2 years from now down the road, this is a very lucrative and feasible industry for those who commit and those who want to make it work and do it right. You understand? Those who would go the shortcut way and who don't want to be part of any body that is helping to get things done right, you go on your own and you usually have difficulties. Because a lot of persons come back to us in that state, right? When the difficulties come.
Tried it and it didn't work. So, all right,
right? But we see this as good, because the world is aging. It's not just Trinidad and Tobago. And aging is here with us. Our percentage, maybe about 17-18% in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So we need to take care of that.
You have the last word.
We really just need to love upon our elderly, right? And that's not, because if we are lucky, we will get there. you know, if we are lucky. So while we are at the stage that we can, you know, provide the care, I think we are appealing to Trinidad and Tobago, not just, you know, the homeowners, to develop that love and care and get the information that would help you to provide the best kind of care for your loved elderly person.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nigel Walker, Ms. Joyce and Francois, executive members of the Home Care Association of Trinidad and Tobago. This has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
WESN.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund